a dear friend.
Yes. So it's our pleasure to introduce Dr. Jane Goodall. She always makes me speechless, but that's something to be discussed after the webinar. Dear Dr. Goodall, so wonderful to see you. So grateful for being with us. How do you feel today? How is it going over there in the United Kingdom?
Well, ever since the lockdown began in March, I've been grounded here in my sort of family home on the south coast in Bournemouth, and I've never been as busy or exhausted in my whole life.
I don't know, is that a good thing or not? Because you had a really busy traveling life before Corona. I was told, and I read in articles that you were traveling like 300 days. How are you trying to catch up with that? How do you try to visit all of those people and try to inspire them as well, but in a virtual way?
Well, I have to do it in the same way as I'm talking to you now. And at first I was frustrated and angry that I couldn't travel around giving a message, raising awareness, getting people to take action. But it turns out, I'm told by my little team of people who help this virtual Jane, that I've now managed to reach not hundreds of thousands, but millions more people in many more countries, because everybody knows where I am. And instead of having, like 2 weeks, I'm in Tanzania, so it's just Tanzania. Now anybody can reach me at any time, and I'm all over the world in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, thank you so much for being with us right now. So we have a few questions from students from across the world. And the first question is from Danielle from Morocco. And she wonders, what was your inspiration to work with chimpanzees, and how has climate change impacted your work?
Well, first of all, when I was 10 years old, right here in this house where I am now, I read books, many of which are behind me. I read Dr. Dolittle, I read Tarzan. And so when I was 10, I was dreaming I would go to Africa, live with wild animals, and write books about them. And when I finally got there and was lucky enough to meet my mentor, Dr. Louis Leakey, he suggested I should go and study wild chimpanzees, the beings most like us. Nobody had studied them in the wild. What an amazing opportunity. And we're still learning new things about them. They are our closest living relative. And I think, what I'm doing now in lockdown, I've already explained. I'm just on, staring at a little green spot at the top of the laptop, which is a camera, which incredibly, because of modern technology and social media, takes me all around the world, including to you in Morocco.
Wonderful. We also have a question from students in Greece, several students, and they wonder, how do you imagine the Earth in 30 days from now in relation to the problem of climate change?
How do I imagine the world in how long from now?
30 years.
30 years.
Yes.
Well, quite honestly, climate change is totally devastating. When I was traveling, I saw the ice melting in Greenland. I met people who'd had to leave their island homes or on the shoreline because high tide made it uninhabitable because of rising sea levels. I saw the devastation caused by the more frequent and worse hurricanes, flooding, droughts, and of course the terrible fires. So I've seen the effect of climate change, and it is destroying our planet. And if we don't get together now and take action, then in 30 years, I don't really like to think what it will be like. So fortunately, this coronavirus is making people think we need a new relationship with the natural world. We need a new relationship with animals, and we need to get together and find a new, more sustainable, green economy in order that in 30 years' time, there'll be something left. It's urgent and it's now. That's why I think meetings like this are so important, because everybody can make a difference.
Yeah, exactly. And that is why a lot of students also wonder what they can do, those small actions to make the world a bit more green and sustainable. What is it, what you would advise to the students and the teachers who are watching this show? What is a small thing they can do?
Well, first of all, of course, I have to say, I would love everybody to find out about our youth program, Roots and Shoots. You can look it up. And it really is, its main message is each one of us makes some impact every single day, and we can choose what sort of impact we make. And our groups from kindergarten, university, everything in between choose three different projects, uh, which they choose themselves to make the world better. One to help people, one to help animals, one to help the environment. And these things are all interrelated. And what they choose will depend where they are, how old they are, the kind of environment they live in, the country they live in, and so on. And it truly is making a difference. But one thing which is really important that everybody can do, other than making ethical decisions as to what you buy, did it harm the environment? Is it cheap because of child slave labor? That sort of thing. But eating less or no meat is one of the most important things because as people eat more and more meat, so there are billions of animals being farmed in these horrible conditions, the factory farms, they're called. And it's not only very cruel, but it destroys huge areas in environment. They have to be fed. Grain has to be grown. Lots of fossil fuel used to get the grain to the animals to the killing sheds, and the meat to the table. And water getting increasingly scarce in some places. A lot of water is used to change vegetable to animal protein. And everybody knows about controlling emissions from fossil fuel that produce all the CO2. That's this greenhouse gas trapping the heat of the sun, leading to climate change. But another important gas is methane. And that's what all animals produce in their digestion, including us. We're animals too. It's that smelly gas, and that's methane. And so much methane is caused from these intensive farming of animals.
Okay. So we have Ines from Portugal, and she wonders why and to what extent climate change affects the chimpanzees beyond the loss of the species. And will it affect the behavior and their culture? And what changes have you been able to experience with the chimps?
Well, the chimpanzees, as they live mostly in rainforests, they're one of the last places to be affected by climate change. But even there, we see gradually, because of changing weather patterns, that fruits may, some of their food that they eat gets the cycle gets disrupted, and because the rainfall is disrupted as well. So we get rain when it should be dry, we get dry when it should be wet, and the plants are getting confused. And this is affecting the food source of the chimpanzees, but we haven't yet been at it long enough to see what actual change there is. In some places where chimps live, not in the rainforest, but out in the more open savanna, it's affecting them more. And, so they're sort of where it gets very, very hot. They're sometimes traveling about feeding in the moonlight, which is something never done before. But it's something that we will find more out about as we continue studying them. The Gombe study just had its 60th anniversary. So we're still learning new things, and effective climate change will be one of them.
Okay. So you mentioned roots and shoots, and I think given the fact that we have so many teachers and students on board who may not know roots and shoots, I'd like to ask you to give them a bit more context about roots and shoots, because we know that this is your little child, and I think that people deserve to know more about it and how they can join as well.
Well, if you look up rootsandshoots.org, you find out all about the the Roots and Shoots program. And uh, we're working with you, Kuhn, as you know, in Tanzania, setting up these, what are they, virtual labs? Was that what are they
Innovation
called?
lab schools. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Well, we're taking groups of Roots and Shoots children from very often deprived areas. And for the first time, some of them get to use computers, and they are so fascinated and they're learning so much. And this this learning about technology is tied in with taking them into this patch of rainforest near the capital city of Dar es Salaam so that they can learn more about the forest. And in Kigoma, which is close to where the chimps are, they're learning more about chimpanzees. So, uh, what are they doing? Well, Roots and Shoots kids are changing the world. Even in kindergarten, they're growing organic food in the school garden. They're learning about the different animals. They're collecting trash. And it's amazing to see some children in really remote areas. They haven't understood the concept of trash. They don't understand that it can pollute the ocean. And once they know, they're very passionate. So my belief is that young people, when they know the problems and they're empowered to take action when we listen to them, not just marching, but planting trees, collecting trash, as older high school, university, devising ways that they can really make a difference. And they're raising money so that they can help victims of hurricanes or earthquakes in other parts of the world. They've been tremendously helpful and raised a lot of money for some devastated communities. And I find that young people, when you let them make choices, they get together, they're very passionate, they discuss a problem, then they decide, I think we can do this. And of course, the younger ones need more advice and guidance, but it's unbelievable what young people are doing and the projects they're working on. And we try and bring them together virtually from around the globe, sometimes face to face, but not now, of course. And they're getting to learn something that's really important, that much more important than the color of your skin, your culture, your religion, what you eat, is the fact we're all human beings. We all cry, we all laugh, and we all have the same emotions.
Wonderful. I'm delighted to share that we will show a video today about our school in Pugu we created with Dr. Goodall. And you will be able to see for a few minutes what they've been doing over there. So I'm delighted to share you. Jane, what is your message to world leaders who don't listen to researchers?
Well, there are some world leaders that it seems pointless to talk to because they don't listen. They don't want to listen. Uh, if they're a sort of normal, ordinary person and not a trumped up, power hungry individual who only wants money and power, then I talk to them. I think the best way to change people is from inside. If you start arguing and shouting at them and telling them they're bad people, they're not going to listen. But if you can tell a story and reach the heart, then even though they may not seem to pay attention at the time, I've had evidence that things that you say cause them to think in a way they didn't think before. So that's my method anyway, telling stories and advising all our young people not to be aggressive, but lead by example and take action. And then when you meet someone, you can say, well, we're trying to plant trees to match up to this trillion tree challenge that's been issued. It was in Davos this year. And last year, 2019, before lockdown, our Roots and Shoots from around the world together planted 5 million trees. And they were planning to plant more this year, but of course, these school activities are being cancelled. But even so, things like that, where young people from around the world get together to have some kind of campaign, it's very encouraging and rewarding. So the message is, get involved, take action, join some kind of group, and just remember, never forget, Every day you live, you make some kind of impact. And when you go to bed at night and think back over your day, did you do anything that made the world a little bit better? Or didn't you bother? Or heaven forbid you did something which made it worse? And that includes how you relate to people. Do you make them smile or frown or cry? That makes a difference too, because changing the mood of other people, giving people hope for the future, that's really what counts today.
Thank you so much for these nice words and your message of hope. Dr. Jane Goodall, last time we met, we were able to give each other a hug.
Yes.
Hopefully that time will come back very soon.
We can blow kisses.
Yeah.
We'll reach you across the internet. So I'm now blowing kisses to everybody from around the world who's watching. Lots and lots and lots of kisses from Dr. Jane to all of you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.